Well, he's a man of many titles, former Minnesota governor, wrestler, best-selling author. Jesse Ventura's latest book has just hit the shelves as well. Our own Anastasia Turk and I caught up with him for a one-on-one interview. Here is a sneak peek at the very best highlights.
RT is sitting down with a former governor of Minnesota, TV personality, former U.S. Navy SEAL, and best-selling author Jesse Ventura. Thank you so much for joining us again.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Your new book, 63 Documents the Government Doesn't Want You to Read.
Yeah.
How's this book new?
All these documents in this book are in the public domain. Mainstream media is not going to tell you. You got to go find the stuff. The most difficult thing about doing this book was that these documents, you could substitute the word Nazi and it would work. And that troubles me because...
Well, that's a pretty harsh statement. So can you give us some examples?
Harsh.
What do you mean? What did you discover working on?
Well, how about the CIA's assassination manual? Assassination is just a fancy word for first-degree murder. How about the document that we discovered in the late 40s, early 50s, where the United States went down to Nicaragua and rounded up a bunch of street people and infected them with syphilis?
Why?
Well, to see if penicillin worked.
You say you want to know what the government is up to. Do you think the rest of Americans want to know?
They ought to know.
Or is it a lot easier living without some of this knowledge?
Well, then if you live without this knowledge and you get bad government and you get the government abusing your rights, your civil rights, in a democratic society, it is imperative for the public, the people, to be vigilant.
Is that sort of way too optimistic or even naive at this point?
It shouldn't be. It should not be. We should always demand accountability. They use our money. I don't like it, what my government's spending my money on.
What happens after you voice that? What do you expect the rest of Americans to do?
I believe that we need a revolution in our country. We can have a revolution. What I suggest is that the next time we have an election here, vote for anyone but Democrats or Republicans. Anyone but them. They're not making decisions to benefit our country. They're making decisions to benefit their benefactors.
It really feels like at this point, many Americans would support what you were saying in terms of something in the system has to change, especially over the last couple of years, what we have been seeing. But the majority still continues to support the mainstream political elite. It still is the Democrats and the Republicans. Mm-hmm. How many people and how much more time do you think it would change for people to really start coming out and voting for a third option?
I don't know. But if they don't, then they deserve what they get, right? Let me tell you something. Do you know how many documents the U.S. government declared top secret last year in 1 year?
Millions.
16 million.
I want to ask you about these really this middle-class uprising that we saw take place in the Midwest in the United States. You know, in Wisconsin, where almost 100,000 people have been protesting for the longest time. They ended up really losing that battle.
Sure.
So you, as one of the people who deems it important to be calling for a revolution, for the people to stand up, what are the chances of the people winning that kind of revolution?
It's easy. Stop voting for Democrats and Republicans. Vote for anyone else.
What do you mean for
That's
anyone
the
else?
problem.
What if the third person turns out to be just as bad or, you know, even worse?
Well, come on, that's a what if. How do you do a what if?
But if you're calling for that and then it ends up playing out even more terribly, what's the solution then?
How could it? How could it? You explain. Now I'll ask you the question. Explain to me how it could turn out worse.
I don't know. The United States could be involved not in 3 wars, but 10?
What, by electing an independent like me? I would put us into 10 wars? Where do you make that leap?
What if you end up going on a power trip and decide to bomb, you know, 7 other countries? Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, I'll put it this way.
And then he started Libya.
Put it this way. I'll follow the Constitution. That's the law of the land. The problem is the Democrats and Republicans no longer follow our Constitution or Bill of Rights. Where's our Supreme Court? They're bought off too.